Okay, this is my third attempt at making this fucking video. I swear to God, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. Okay, the last two attempts did not go as planned, so here's my third attempt. If this one doesn't work, I'm just straight scrapping this fucking video. So, today I am going to make a tier list of all 136 fight songs for all 136 FBS Division I college football schools. Let's get to it, shall we? In the top tier, you have iconic. Below that is memorable. Below that is recognizable. Below that is meh. Below that is forgettable. And below that is the bottom tier of either never heard of it or stolen. A lot of different group of five schools just straight decided to rip someone else's fight song and claim it as their own. You'll see what I mean in just a second. So many G5 schools did that, it is fucking ridiculous. But let's get to the ranking, shall we? It's not so much a ranking as it is a tier list, but you know what I mean. To start off, we have Air Force. There's not a whole lot to it beyond the fact that it's just, you know, your typical service academy, hip and hoorah sort of thing. Next up is Akron. And, you know, to be honest, prior to me making this video, I have never heard of it before. So, into the bottom tier you go. Next up, we have Alabama. And let's be perfectly honest here, this is truly iconic. The sort of stuff that makes college football a staple of every Saturday morning in the fall. You have not experienced college football until you see an Alabama Crimson Tide touchdown, and then the marching band plays this. Next up is App State. These are one of the few group of five schools that actually made an original fight song, and I cannot thank you enough for doing that because I'm telling you, so many group of five schools just straight stole a university's fight song and declared it their own. And App State is one of the few schools that did not do that. So for that alone, we are going to put yours in memorable. Next up is Arizona. And, you know, unless you, grew up in Arizona, went to Arizona for school, or was a huge fan of the Pac-12, there's a very good chance that you could link this as a college football fight song, but you don't know whose it belongs to. So for that reason, I'm just going to put it in meh. Arizona State, however, a true staple of college football. And remember, while the programs may not be top tier, that is not what we're ranking here. We are simply ranking their fight songs. So, you could be an 0-12 school, but if I think you've got a badass fucking fight song, you're going into iconic. So, for that reason, Arizona State is going into iconic. Here's Arkansas. While I wouldn't necessarily call this one iconic, you absolutely know that this is Arkansas's fight song, and for that it is memorable. Let's go next door to Arkansas State. Again, we have a rare example of a group of 5 school actually having an original fight song. So for that, they go into recognizable. Here's Armies. Again, just a typical Service Academy boom hip hurrah. So for that, it will go into recognizable alongside its fellow Service Academy Air Force. Now here is a tough one because the marching band itself is one of the best in the entire SEC, but that's not what we're ranking. We're ranking the fight song in and of itself. And because of that, Auburn's fight song will be our first forgettable tier. It's just not that good of a fight song, in spite of the fact that their marching band is probably the best in the entire SEC. It's a real shame. Also gotta love how they chant War Eagle when their mascot's the Tigers. Figure yourself out, Auburn. There's Ball State. Yeah, as you can see, this is one of the stolen ones, so it goes into the stolen tier. Let's head over to Baylor. Side tangent. Kansas has not beaten Baylor since I was a fucking toddler. I am a grown fucking man. And an uncle now. And they still have not managed to fucking beat Baylor in that entire span of time. It is infuriating. As for the fight song itself, yeah, it's recognizable. So we'll just put that alongside Baylor. And then Boise State. For me, I think this is truly a staple of college football. Boise State, throughout my entire lifetime, has just been that one group of 5 school that has always managed to dominate. Now, they had a home streak there where they didn't lose a single game at home from 2002 all the way into the 2010s. It was insane. Part of that is because they played in the WAC, and the WAC was the worst conference you've ever fucking seen, Jesus Christ. But then, you know, they kept the streak going once they moved into the Mountain West, so yeah, just an absolutely incredible program, and for that, they go into memorable. Now here is a true classic. Boston College. Boston for Boston. Truly an iconic piece, even if they have Bill O'Brien as their head coach, who is a fucking hack, and they're currently 1-10. Does not matter. They have a fucking kick-ass fight song, and for that, they go into iconic. Now we head off to Bowling Green. It just exists. Kind of like their franchise in general. We're putting that in stolen. Now we head off to Buffalo. It's loud. Beyond that, like, it's just there. So we'll put it into forgettable. Off to Brigham Young. Really, there isn't a whole lot to say about BYU. Hope they make the playoffs this year. Beyond that, they can go fuck themselves. Seriously, like, you ever want to throw up, just look up what the Mormons believe. But yeah, like, in terms of their fight song, it's just meh. There's nothing really all that special about it. Nice use of brass. Beyond that, there's really nothing to say. Now we head off to Cal. You know, for a team that's as well as endowed as they are, you'd think that they would at least try to compete. But it feels like they haven't tried to compete ever since they had Beast Mode. You know, I was a little kid when Beast Mode was on Cal. So that shows you how long that they've just not given a shit about their program. But, you know, in terms of the program itself, I mean, it's just a fight song. And then, you know, on top of that, you know how Tearmaker has a black background? So whenever you have navy blue logos, like dark blue, you can hardly see the damn thing. So I apologize in advance to Cal, Duke, Kansas State, Notre Dame, Nevada, Virginia's Swords, West Virginia, Utah State, and Rice. Your logos are going to be fucking incomprehensible on this fucking background. Here's Central Michigan, of in which, there's nothing special about this one either. It's just a typical G5 fight song. You'd probably be able to, in a vacuum, say, yeah, this is a college football fight song, but I have no idea who for. Let's head over to Charlotte. My question to Charlotte is, if your school is named after the 49ers of the California Gold Rush, I have a lot of questions, because your school is located in Charlotte, North Carolina, which is on the precise opposite side of the country that the California Gold Rush took place in. So, like, could anyone help me figure out why the fuck Charlotte calls themselves the 49ers? Because geographically speaking, it makes no sense whatsoever. And historically speaking, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense either, because, like, North Carolina was around hundreds of years prior to the Gold Rush. Anyways. Onward to Cincinnati. As for Charlotte, we're going to put their fight song in Forgettable. But as for Cincinnati's fight song, like, yeah, this is absolutely Cincinnati's fight song. There's no getting around it. So for that, we put it in Memorable. Onward to Clemson. Yeah, there's really no debating it. This is one of the best fight songs in all of college football, and for that, it will go into iconic. That fucking trombone slide gets me horny. Not actually. Offward to Coastal Carolina. By the way, like, whoever drew this mascot, did you have to make his chin look like a pair of testicles? I know, they're the Chanticleers, so you gotta draw a rooster, but, like, come on! You had to know what you were doing there. Anyways, as for the fight song itself, I mean, it's fine. There's no engaging qualities about it whatsoever, so for that, it goes into Forgettable. Onward to Colorado. You know, if not for the emergence of Deion Sanders, would anyone be able to point this out as Colorado's fight song? My opinion, no. So for that, it goes into Forgettable. Because as soon as the Dion hype dies down, which I think it already has, significantly in fact, the fight song is not going to last. As soon as the hype around Dion's gone, so will Colorado's program. So for that, it goes into forgettable. Here's Colorado State's fight song, and here they actually did an excellent job. So for that, I'm putting in recognizable. It's one of the few original G5 schools that has a proper soundtrack, proper fight song. Can you tell I've been recording for several hours? Yeah, it is getting super repetitive. Anyways, we move to Delaware. Or Connecticut, my bad. Now, if you're a college basketball fan, I know for a fact that you've listened to this several times over. But in terms of the college football fight song, it's very rare that you would hear this unless you're like grew up in the New England area or went to school at UConn. So for that, I will put it in recognizable, because if you are a basketball viewer, there's a guarantee that you know this is Connecticut's fight song. And as you can hear, a lot of Group 5 schools stole this from UConn, so they can go fuck themselves. UConn gets the rating. Every preceding song that uses this goes into stolen. Onward to Delaware. Gonna be perfectly honest with you, until today I'd never heard of this song before, so into never heard of you go. Onward to Duke. Now, if you're a basketball viewer, again, you probably recognize this, but if not, then you probably haven't. So, for the sake of the fact that they are a basketball blue blood, I will put this in recognizable. Onward to East Carolina. Yeah, as you can hear, this was stolen, so into stolen it goes. Onward to Eastern Michigan. Stolen. One right after the other, but yeah. Now here's a true iconic piece. Florida! Onward to Florida Atlantic. Yeah, see what I mean? The Group of Fives, they steal other people's fight songs and think they can get away with it. Believe me, they are far from the last. Into stolen you go. FIU. FIU. An excellent fight song, and for that, they go all the way into memorable. Because even though the team sucks, yes, the fight song does not. And they deserve to be rewarded for that. Onward to Florida State. A true classic, really. It's just a shame that the team can't score points, so this song gets played more. Because, yeah, that Florida State offense, my God. You thought they were bad last year, yeah. And while, yes, they did improve slightly from last year, that's not really saying much. But, you know, when it comes to their song itself, it's fine. So, for that, it goes into recognizable. Fresno State. You know, I went to the game earlier this year where KU hosted Fresno State, and that was a really fun game. I also didn't know that Fresno State had the son of an NFL legend on their roster, so that's pretty cool. As for the song itself, I mean, all power to them for making an original piece, but when it comes to the song itself, it's very meh. So for that, it goes into meh. Onward to Georgia. And, you know, I gotta say, ripping off Glory Hallelujah is very ironic considering John Brown's Body Lies a Moldering in the Grave came first, and it's the far better song, both lyrically and artistically. So, you know, lack of originality, but, you know, considering they stole from perfection, I can't necessarily dock them for it. So, for that, it goes into memorable. On to Georgia Southern. Yeah, it's surprising seeing a whole lot of teams from the South making the jump from FCS to FBS, and then all the powerhouses in the Snow Belt stay. So now there's just a huge talent gap in the FCS, where only the Snow Belt schools are worth a damn. I don't know how FCS makes that interesting. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the fight song itself, Georgia Southern's is just very forgettable. Now we head to Georgia State. I swear that this school just popped up out of existence because I never heard of this program prior to about 2018 when they upset, I think it was Florida that they upset. Prior to that, I'd never heard of this school before in my entire life. Now they're just fodder for an inferior Sun Belt. But, you know, as for the tune itself, yeah, it's very forgettable. So it goes into forgettable. Onward to Georgia Tech. The Ramblin' Wreck from Georgia Tech. Yeah, fun little fact about Georgia Tech, 22% of all of its graduates are millionaires. Not exactly sure how that works, but that is fucking insane. So either super rich people go to Georgia Tech, or Georgia Tech gets you really high-paying jobs, or maybe even a mix of the two. But, you know, when it comes to their fight song, it's original, I'll give them that, but there's nothing all that special about it, and you couldn't point it out as Georgia Tech's unless you went to school in Georgia Tech or are from Atlanta. So for that, it goes into meh. Onward to Hawaii. Sounds very military. And, you know, it makes sense. I mean, it was a military colony until 1959 when it gained statehood, so I'm not exactly surprised that the university's fight song sounds very militaristic. So, you know, for that reason, I'll put it in meh. Because, you know, it sounds militaristic, but it's not from a service academy, so the number is kind of lost in time. So unless you went to school at Hawaii or grew up in Hawaii, you probably didn't even know that this was Hawaii's fight song. Here's Houston. And while I don't like the school, I think they're a bunch of fucking frauds. Their fight song is the best in the Big 12, and I will fucking die on that hill. So, for that, they go into iconic. as you can hear, there's nothing all that special about Illinois' fight song. So for that, it just goes into meh. Onward to Indiana, who has a far more recognizable fight song. And for that, they do get the nod. While they haven't had that great of a program, historically speaking, they have emerged from the shadows to finally claim a piece of the pie, because they are one of the oldest college football programs in circulation, while also simultaneously being the least successful. So the fact they're finally emerging out of that glass ceiling, good on them. I really hope KU can do that, because 2007 was so fucking long ago. I was a kid when that happened. Now I'm a fucking uncle. Come on. Have an emergent season. For the love of God. Onward to Iowa. Yeah, a true classic. That being said, it's not iconic, so it goes into memorable, same as Indiana. Onward to Iowa State. And this is where the drop-off happens, because this one is just so generic, by the numbers. There's nothing special about it. You can call me biased because I am a KU fan, but believe me when I tell you, I don't care about Iowa State's existence. I'm only looking at this through an impartial lens of, does their fight song hit or not? And this one does not hit for me. So, for that, it goes into forgettable. Onward to Jacksonville State, who recently got the call up to FBS. And you know, it gives me like southern ragtime feels, so for that, it goes into recognizable because it is original and it does give you some pep in your step, as it should, since it's an HBCU. And HBCU marching bands tend to be top-of-the-line shit. Onward to James Madison. Now, I mean, good on them for doing an original track, but when it comes to good or not, no. And this is the first time I've heard of it, so it goes into never heard of. Onward to Kansas. Call me biased if you want, but the use of woodwinds, specifically the flute in this song, makes it stand out to all other types of college fight songs, which usually emphasize drums and brass. So to see a use of the woodwinds is fantastic for me. And because of that, it will go into memorable, but bottom of it. So if you wanted to swap it in for recognizable, you could. Onward to K-State. These bastards are the bane of my existence, I swear. Last time the Jayhawks beat them, I was a little kid. Do I look like a little kid now? No, I look like a miserable son of a bitch that's about to turn 30. Not actually, I'm 25. I just look 30. That's what being a Jayhawks fan all your life will do to you. You age by decades instead of years. Anyways. In terms of K-State's fight song, I mean, it's very recognizable. At least for me, for all the wrong reasons, but even among other college football fans, it's a very recognizable tune. Here's Kennesaw State, the newcomers. And much like other FCS jump outs from the South, I had never heard of this prior to today. So, into never heard of it goes. Onward to Kent State, also one of the oldest programs and least successful. which is especially pathetic because the MAC is way easier of a conference than the Big Ten. So the fact that they have one of the worst programs of all time is really saying something. Just an objectively terrible program. And, you know, their fight song isn't any different, so it goes into forgettable. Onward to Kentucky. If you are a basketball fan, you have probably heard this plenty of times. But if not, you probably haven't. So, much like other Blue Bloods, it will go into recognizable and not much else. Here's Liberty. One of the few people that actually did an original piece, but, you know, it's not creative and it doesn't spice up the nerves in me, so for that it just goes into meh. Onward to Lucy Tech. Yep, it goes into Stolen. They took this from Iowa. As is typical of G5 schools, they are the least creative people you will ever fucking see. Onward to Louisville. I mean, like, it exists. Other than that, like, this isn't creative. It doesn't stick out. It just does. So that it goes into forgettable. There's nothing about that is just nothing, man. Here's LSU, who just goes into iconic because, like, LSU's fight song is one of the most heard of fight songs of all of college football. And it's not just because Death Valley's impossible to play in, but also because, you know, they've got a marching band that gives a shit, which is nice to see. Onward to Marshall. They stole it. Not exactly surprising, but still disappointing. Onward to Maryland. And, you know, this one doesn't really tickle the nerves either, so for that, it goes into forgettable. Here comes Memphis. Yeah, as expected, Stolen. I swear to God, like, the more this happens, the angrier I got. But the first two recordings didn't work, so now I'm just reserved to every time I hear a Stolen track. Resigned, I should say. You know what you did was unoriginal and wrong. I don't need to continue pounding sand. Here's Middle Tennessee. And, you know, as you can hear, it's just like, oh, cool. Is that all you can do? Onward to Miami, Florida. And, you know, as much as I hate this fucking school, their fight song does kick. So for that, it goes into iconic. true classic. You know, you haven't lived until you've seen the Hurricanes score a touchdown. Onward to the other Miami in Ohio. One of the oldest programs in the entire country is Miami of Ohio. And they host the oldest rivalry game between themselves and Cincinnati. They've been playing since the 1880s. But, you know, when it comes to their fight song, it is unfortunately one of those things that has been stolen. Onward to Michigan.
Ladies.
Yeah, well, this track is much longer than it needs to be because for some reason they decided to record the entire fight song instead of the type that gets played during a touchdown. So, please excuse the idiocy of whoever published this. Give it about 10 more seconds and you'll finally get the actual fight song. But as for the song itself, it is a true staple of college football, and for that it goes into iconic. There it is. Yeah, you only get the fight song about 2 minutes and 14 seconds into the goddamn song, but hey, cool. Onward to Michigan State. Spartans! What is your profession? Who? If only they could make a fight song that fucking epic. But no, instead we have to use memes in order to make Michigan State cool. Their fight song goes into forgettable. As does their season for a matter of fact. Onward to Minnesota. You know, this program used to be great in the early days of college football, but ever since the 60s they have dropped off significantly and never managed to bounce back. Just one of those weird things. You don't think about it, but yeah, this team used to be very good. Like, best in the country every single year, right up until they dropped off and then haven't managed to get back to national championship status ever since. It's a sad fact of life, but, you know, nothing lasts forever, and sometimes you don't appreciate what you have till it's gone. As for the song itself, I mean, yeah, like, you can recognize that it's Minnesota's, but beyond that, there isn't a whole lot of specialty to it, so I'm just putting it in recognizable. Onward to Mississippi State. That's another generic mascot that it feels like every single college football team ends up deciding to call themselves, is the Bulldogs. How many fucking schools are named the Bulldogs? I mean, I'm not one to say anything because my high school's mascot was the Bulldogs and we blatantly ripped off Georgia's logo. But, like, is it really original? No, it's not. Same for Tigers. Oh my fucking god, so many goddamn schools call themselves the Tigers, it's ridiculous. And then when it comes to Mississippi State's fight song, like, there's nothing special about it. So it's going into forgettable. At least there wasn't any cowbell. Onward to Missouri. This is how you know I'm not being biased, because instead of putting them in forgettable, I am going to put them into memorable. This is one of the best fight songs in the entire country. It's just not quite iconic. It's not a true staple of college football until you've heard this fight song. So for that, it goes into memorable. Onward to Missouri State. Thank you, Jesus, a group of 5 school that didn't steal their fight song from someone else. So for that, it will go into recognizable, because I love this fucking fight song. It's just that no one's heard it because they only now made the jump to FBS. That being said, I went to a KU game where they paid Missouri State some money to come get their ass kicked, and I really liked their brown and silver look. Most teams that try doing that, they just make it look shitty, but they actually pull it off, and they look pretty nice. Onward to Navy. There's no other way of putting it. This is numero uno. It is the best fight song in college football. For now, at least. That could change. This is a true staple of college football, and you are missing out if you have not heard Anchors Away. It is truly a timeless classic that will hopefully remain a staple of college football for the rest of time. Onward to NC State. Gonna be perfectly honest with you, this is the first Power Conference team that I have not heard of their fight song. So for that, NC State will go into never heard of. Onward to Nebraska. I absolutely hate the Cornhuskers, but their fight song is a staple of college football, and I absolutely love everything about it. It is one of those tracks that will forever live rent-free in my head as a Jayhawks fan, but even so, you have not lived until you've heard this song at least once. Although you will want to die if you hear it 10 times in one game, which happened surprisingly often. Here's Nevada. Gonna be perfectly honest, I never heard of this track prior to today. Nothing against it, I just haven't heard of it. Onward to University of New Mexico. UNM. Another track I legitimately had never heard of prior to today. Now, let's see if New Mexico State has a better setup here. Nope, they just stole a previous track. So for that, they go into stolen, you bastards. Onward to North Carolina. Yeah, there's no other way of putting it. This is truly a memorable part of what makes college football so special, so into that memorable tier it goes. That being said, my banner up here has 6 years on it, thanks to your little collapse in the second half of the 2022 National Championship, so I can't thank you enough. North Texas. Gonna be perfectly honest, I'd never heard of this prior to today. So into never heard of it goes. On to Northern Illinois. The only people that I know are from Northern Illinois is Lance Lightfoot. So thanks for Lance. Other than that, like, oh well. There isn't anything special about their fight song either, so into forgettable it goes. Onward to Northwestern. Who, by the way, let's talk about your logo. Why did you get rid of the old design that had a wildcat howling through a gap in the N? That was the superior design. This current N that's weirdly shaped. What does that serve? That's just silly. And, you know, it feels like a lot of colleges are doing that, where they simplify the logo and make it look stupid. Or they just make it look so generic that there's no distinctive markers to it. In that case, why even bother having a logo? So yeah, Northwestern, you need to do better work on your logo, and some better work on your fight songs too, because this is going into forgettable. Now here's a true staple. Notre Dame's fight song. And no, it's not because they're a global brand, it's because every time you see them run out of the tunnel, you know that this is the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So into iconic tier it goes. It also feels weird because Council Grove was our biggest rival in high school, and they had this as their fight song. So, I have a love-hate relationship with Notre Dame's fight song. Onward to Ohio. And as you can hear, like it's got a lot of drum lines, so that's unique about that, but beyond that, there's nothing special about it, so into meh it goes. Now, like, huge incorporation of the drums, but beyond that, there's really nothing special about this fight song at all. Onward to Ohio State. Yeah, you know, they're another one of those staple franchises where you have not lived college football until you've heard Ohio State's fight song. So, into iconic it goes. Onward to Oklahoma. A true classic. There's no other way of getting around it. This goes into the iconic tier right off the bat. As soon as you hear that, you automatically know it's the Boomer Sooners! And then next up, Oklahoma State, who also have a truly iconic piece. If it weren't for Houston, they'd probably have the best fight song in the Big 12. But because Houston does exist, they do fall one shot behind them into the memorable tier, the very top. Onward to Old Dominion. I mean, good on them for not stealing a fight song, but like, what is so special about this? Like, I'm not casting judgment on these schools, because if I were their composer, I would have panic attacks. But there really is nothing special about Old Dominion's fight song, so for that it goes into forgettable. Onward to Ole Miss. This is the original track. Everyone else that's been using this track has been stealing it. As for Ole Miss's original track, like, there's nothing that moves the needle with it, so into meh it goes. Onward to Oregon. A true staple of college football, and it's not just the uniforms, it's not just the fact that they've got a duck as a mascot, it's not just the fact that they come out of the tunnel riding a Harley fucking Davidson down the field like a bunch of jackasses. This truly is a iconic part of college football, and you have not lived until you've heard it at least once. For that, it goes into number 2, only behind Acres Away. Onward to Oregon State. one of the few power programs that stole a track. So, into stolen you go. Penn State. College football whiteout is never to be forgotten. Also, fun fact, I got a friend that is part of the pep bands for Penn State basketball, so if you ever find yourself at a Nittany Lions basketball game, first off, God rest your soul, and secondly, look at the band! You might see my friend. But yeah, for Penn State's fight song, it goes to the very tippy top of memorable. Onward to Pitt, and yeah, you know, it's just one of those fight songs that's very loud, and beyond that has no substance to it. So the fact that it's loud is not good enough for it to go into meh tier, so into forgettable it goes. Onward to Purdue. Not only do they have the world's largest drum, but they also have the world's largest hearts. Into meh they go. Rice. Gonna be perfectly honest, I have never heard of this fucking fight song prior to today. Onward to Rutgers. Yeah, the oldest college football program of all time. That being said, their fight song doesn't really move the needle, so into meh they go. I also find it hilarious that Princeton has gone to an Elite Eight, but Rutgers hasn't. Same goes for St. Peter's, too. Anyways, Sam Houston. Gonna be perfectly honest, I never heard of this prior to today, so into never heard of they go. San Diego State. Yeah. There's nothing special about this track, but, you know, it's not offensive, so we'll put it in meh tier. Onward to San Jose State. Not exactly surprising, but still disappointing. Another stolen track. Onward to SMU. Yeah, one of the few programs that's ever gotten a death penalty, and it was so severe that it turned a perennial national championship contender into one of the worst all-time programs of all time. So, while their program is only now starting to recover from the death penalty they got in the 80s, their fight song is still just mediocre. There's nothing special about it. Onward to South Alabama. I thank them for not stealing a track, but there's nothing special about this, so into meh it goes. I also find it pretty funny that their acronym is USA. Here's South Carolina's fight song, and quite frankly, I'm disappointed as hell from it. I can see why Darude Sandstorm is way more popular because, yeah, this one's forgettable. It's just not a good fight song. As for Southern Miss, let's see if they can bring up the spirits. Nope, they stole it. The bastards. Yeah, well, I guess it's not surprising considering they have alumni that like stealing from the poor as well. Go fuck yourself, Brett Favre. Fucking cunt. Onward to Stanford. You know, it's pretty funny because Stanford's marching band isn't organized. Like, they don't have a composer. They don't have any real organization to it. They don't have uniforms. It really is just student body that decide, you know what, I can play saxophone. Let's head over to the student section and bring my saxophone over. That really is how it goes. So it really is funny that with that sort of organizational structure, their fight song is kick-ass. So, not only because of how it's structured, but also because the song itself is kick-ass, I am putting Stanford at the very top of memorable. If Stanford was a good program, they'd probably go into iconic because everyone would have heard it, but alas, it's one of those niche things that you never really learn about unless you grew up in the area or went to school there. Onward to Syracuse. Yeah, like it's a upbeat, cheery tune, and it's not stolen, so for that they do get some credit. I'll put them into meh tier. Also, you gotta love how their original name was the Orangemen, but then they ended up changing it to the Orange. Ah yes, let's avoid the racial stereotypes by changing our mascot from a clear depiction of a savage Indian and turn it into just the color orange or the fruit orange. We know what you're doing. Let's not play stupid here. Anyways, onward to TCU. A true staple of the Big 12. I won't put it over Oklahoma State, but it's a damn good fight song, and for that, it goes into the recognizable tier. Onward to Temple. You know, Philly, I understand you guys a little bit better, because if this is the crap you subject yourself to on a Saturday, then I entirely understand why you go all balls to the wall on Sunday, because this sucks. Bottom of forgettable tier. This might be the worst fight song in the entirety of FBS, which is really saying something because you got 135 other guys competing with you. As for Tennessee, this is a true staple of college football. You have not lived until you've seen the Volunteers score a touchdown and Smokey go, ooh, ooh. Always be holding on to me. Good old Rocky Top. Woo! Rocky Top, Tennessee. And then following it is Texas, which is also a truly iconic piece. You have not lived until you've heard Texas's fight song. And then following the great example of the last two fight songs is Texas A&M. You would think that they would be smart enough to not look like sour bitches, but alas, they put Texas in their fight song, further proving that they are the ultimate little brother. They will never get out of their own heads, and for that, they deserve to be forgotten. That being said, the fight song itself is pretty good, so I will put it at the very top of memorable. Onward to Texas State. Good on him for not stealing a track, but this doesn't really move the needle, so I'm putting it in meh tier. Onward to Texas Tech. Also, side note, next time KU plays at Texas Tech, can y'all not throw knives at our sideline, please? Whoever did that deserves to go to prison. One, how the fuck did you sneak that in there? And two, why the fuck would you throw that onto the sideline, you goddamn savage? Anyway, side tangent out of the way. The fight song itself is very nice. I'm putting it at the very top of meh tier. The only reason why it doesn't really move the needle past any others is that it's not something that it sticks into the psyche. It's just, you know, your typical college football fight song. Onward to Toledo. And, yeah. They did it, man. Like, I don't know how, but a school that has never managed to get over the hump in MAC play of all conferences has made a kick-ass track, and for that they're going into the very bottom of memorable. Go Rockets, I guess. Onward to Troy. Damn good. Troy is a kick-ass program with a kick-ass fight song. So for that, they go into the bottom of recognizable. Onward to Tulane. Also, you gotta love that this school has never managed to miss on a logo design. It doesn't matter what era you go to, Tulane has had an incredible logo selection. Am I supposed to be surprised by this? Not necessarily. I mean, it is New Orleans. They are the artsy type over there, but still. It's commendable that they have not managed to fuck up a logo even once. So yeah, they will go into the recognizable tier, just above UConn. Onward to Tulsa. You gotta love that they call themselves the Golden Hurricane, despite the fact that they are in northeast Oklahoma, which is about as far away from a large body of water as you can possibly get, you know, in the entire continent. But yeah, call yourself the Golden Hurricane. Fucking retards. And that's just like an Oklahoma thing in general. I would know, I've lived next to Oklahomans my entire fucking life, and every time you hear them open their mouth, you can tell immediately, oh yeah, you're from Oklahoma. Like, is it any surprise that 1 in 3 Oklahomans are on some form of welfare? They are a bunch of fucking retards. There's nothing else to it. And when it comes to Tulsa's fight song, I mean, it's nothing worth remembering, so we'll put it in forgettable. Onward to UAB, who, quite frankly, should just be thankful that they still have a program, because their administration tried to cut the program in 2016. So, the fact they still have a program after that is a miracle in and of itself. Go Blazers. As for your song, it got stolen, so off it goes. UCF. I hate this team with a burning fucking passion, but their fight song is truly an icon. And for that, it goes over Oklahoma State and into the memorable tier. Or, yeah, memorable tier. Onward to UCLA. And, you know, say what you will about USC, but UCLA's fight song is pretty damn good in its own right. So for that, it goes into memorable. Onward to UL Lafayette. UL Lafayette's one of those schools that you wonder how the fuck they are still around. Because they did receive an early version of the death penalty in the 1950s, and it feels like they've been playing catch-up ever since. As for the song itself, I mean, yeah, like it's fine. Like there's nothing else to it, so into Met, here it goes. Onward to UL Monroe, who might be the very next team that ends up folding or downgrading. Because they don't have any money. Their athletics budget got cut this year by a significant amount, which is indicative of either every other program is going to get cut or the football program is going to get cut. So, keep your eyes out for UL Monroe because the Warhawks could very well downgrade into Division II in the near future. As for the song itself, I mean, it doesn't really move the needle, so into Met, here it goes. Now here is a UMass fight song. And while the fight song itself is fine, the team itself is very much not. They could very well go 0-12. And if they do, give them a banner, man, because every single game they've played has been utter fucking trash. UMass, forgettable. UNLV, go on running Rebels. Yeah, as expected, they stole it from other schools. Onward to USF. Take that, chair. Taste my soul, bitch. Anyways, USF's fight song is, just not all that memorable. So for that, it goes into forgettable. Hold on a second. You bastards, you stole this! We need a palate cleanser, so let's go to USC. Say what you want about their football program under Lincoln Riley. Say what you want about how they pretty much collapsed ever since they got rid of their... There are few things in college football more endearing than watching the Trojan plant that fucking Gladius right at midfield. To this. Like, you gotta understand, the fight song is so fucking iconic that they've got two of them and both of them are in the iconic tier. So for that, you can't really do anything else but put them at number one. Into number one they go. They surpassed Navy and Oregon. Onward to Utah. Ever since this team moved into Big 12, they've become a bigger and bigger pain in my ass. But, when it comes to their fight song, you can definitely tell it's theirs. Like, it's unique enough to where it stands out of the crowd. So for that, it will go into memorable. Onward to Utah State. Yep, gonna be perfectly honest with you, I'd never heard of this prior to today, so into never heard of it goes. Texas San Antonio. Also never heard of this prior to today, so inward you go. UTEP. You can't exactly be surprised that they stole this, but they did. Onward to Vanderbilt. Yeah, like there's nothing truly special about this fight song other than the fact that it wasn't stolen, and you shouldn't expect it to be stolen. So it's going right next to Auburn and forgettable. Onward to Virginia. You know, for a school that was started by Thomas and Jefferson and was one of the only public schools at the time, you'd think that they'd have a better lot in life, but they really don't. So, for that, it goes into forgettable. There's nothing special about this whatsoever. Onward to Virginia Tech. Yeah, very militaristic. And for that, it goes into recognizable. Onward to Wake Forest. We're finally nearing the end of this fucking playlist. Yeah, this is the original. Everyone else stole it from them. That being said, Wake Forest fight song is, you know, it's recognizable in the sense that just about every other mediocre college football program also has this as their fight song, but like the song itself is just fine. There's nothing special about it. Onward to Washington. What I love about Washington's fight song is that it's not afraid to, you know, put in some woodwinds. I am a sucker for some woodwinds. What can I say? So, for that, it goes into definitely recognizable because, like, out of all of these fight songs, very few of them have woodwinds. So, into memorable it goes. My mistake. I initially mistook recognizable from memorable. Onward to Washington State. And, you know, they have every right to feel scorned after what happened to the Pac-12. Left holding the bag. Now, they've been a okay program for pretty much my entire life. So, to see them fall so hard is tragic. Now, the Cougs will go into the recognizable tier. Onward to West Virginia. Yeah. This is a pretty good fight song. We'll put it at right around recognizable. Also, why go into the navy blue design? The yellow and blue design worked great. So, like, why are you getting rid of yellow and going to just all navy blue? It's too much. Onward to Western Kentucky. Go Hilltoppers. Beyond that, I had never heard of this song prior to today. Western Michigan. By the way, that golden horse design you had in the late 90s, early 2000s, that was peak. Now you decided, you know what, let's change that and make a yellow and brown W that looks like piss and shit. So, yeah, bad design. Decent fight song, where I'll put it in because there's nothing too special about it, but hey, that design looks fucking horrible. Now, here is the last iconic one. On Wisconsin, there's truly no other song like it, and I may be partial to this because my high school used this as their fight song. Even so, it still has a true place in the iconic tier of college football to where you have not lived until you hear On Wisconsin at least once. Now, to close out this long fucking list, we have Wyoming. What I have to say about Wyoming is that it is a miracle that Laramie as a town exists, considering how desolate Wyoming as a state is. It's one of the largest states in the Union, and yet despite that, it easily has the smallest population in the Union. That is how sparsely populated the entire state is. Yet somehow, they managed to come up with a great town called Laramie, put a college football team there, and they're good. As is their fight song, for that matter. So it goes into the near top of recognizable. Just truly amazing stuff that they're working with. That concludes this, 75-minute long video. I'm going to take a nap after I upload this to YouTube. It has been a trying day, but I have finally completed this huge project that I've been wanting to do for a long fucking time. So, with that out of the way, my name's Trey McGathan, and I will be seeing you soon.